Hi there, my name is Doug Hilton. I'm a counselor in private practice in Canada. I wanted to talk to you today about a concept that is really important in addiction and recovery and sometimes misunderstood. This concept is called triggers. Triggers are people, places, things, situations where if a person who has an addiction is exposed to them, there's a chance that they might go feed their addiction after that. It's an important concept for people to understand in order to know what to kind of avoid, especially in early recovery, so that they're not set off in some way when they're trying to stay away from their addiction and end up being tempted. The part that's misunderstood is that many people seem to think that it's sort of a conscious thing. That if you're around something and it bothers you, then it's a dangerous trigger and you should stay away from it, which is true, but it can be less conscious than that. Some triggers affect us in ways we're not aware of at the time, and then maybe add up to something later. Maybe many triggers add up like grains of sand in an hourglass until the whole thing tips, so to speak, and you end up back at your addiction. Or maybe it just hits you later. Anyway, we're talking about less than conscious seeds being planted most of the time, and they're dangerous because of that. There's probably been a time when you've been exposed to some picture or sound or person, and all of a sudden it brought you back, boom, just like that, to an older memory. That's the kind of trigger we're talking about. I remember clearly walking with my wife one time downtown in the city, getting a whiff of some cigar smoke. My father used to smoke White Owl cigars. And so, boom, without thinking about it, I didn't choose to, all of a sudden I'm thinking about my childhood and my father and all these things. I got triggered. Not to an addiction, but I got triggered by an unconscious memory. The same kind of thing can happen with addiction. It doesn't even have to be that directly relevant. Sometimes we're around someone or something that just reminds us of something that's connected to an addiction, and that's enough. You could even be in a 12-step meeting and hear someone's voice, and that person's voice and the way they speak sounds like somebody that you used to have connection with when you were in active addiction. Okay, well, that's a potential trigger. Commercials are dangerous. Commercials are designed by people like me who know how to affect people on less conscious levels. They put particular sounds and songs and slogans in them so they'll stick in your mind. So that maybe if you get triggered somehow, directly or indirectly, you'll end up buying their products. This is an example that comes from a long time ago. Some of you watching this might be too young to remember this, but I'll just say a phrase and then you fill in the rest. Who are you going to call? For those of you who are old enough, you probably just said or thought Ghostbusters. Well, how long ago was that? See how powerful and pervasive and lasting those triggers can be. That's a pretty harmless one, but it's an example. So I'm just trying to make the point that, especially in early recovery, it's important not to allow yourself to be exposed to any more triggers than absolutely necessary. Of course, there's a balance to be struck here. The idea is not run and hide, be afraid of life, don't talk to anybody or do anything because you might get set off. That'll just make you miserable and that'll trigger you back to an addiction just as easily, but in a different way. The idea is, no, to just as much as reasonably possible, without driving yourself crazy, be aware of the things that might trigger you and try to limit your exposure to them. You see somebody that you used to participate in your addiction with, okay, maybe this is not the time to be talking to that person, or even looking at them for that matter. Commercial comes on TV that's triggering for you, okay, turn it off, change the channel, distract yourself, go focus on something else. Some of you might be thinking, well, I'm stronger than that. I should be able to stand up to it. That's not the idea with this. It's not the idea. Don't let your pride get in the way. If you were a diabetic, you going to go tour the chocolate factory? No. Why? Because the temptation might be there, and that's not good. Does that make you weak? No. Staying away from the chocolate factory is just good, practical ideas that's something that you would just do because you've got diabetes. Same kind of thing with this. You have a condition, work around it. So I hope this helps, and I hope that you take this idea of triggers to heart and make use of it in your recovery. Thanks for listening.